So.
July.
What?
Yeah, no, I have it.
Who's on the police and fire committee?
I could tell you right now.
Okay.
What do you have? You're the chairman and Dallas is and so is Mr. Burnside.
Okay.
Do you have the
Yes.
recorder ready to go?
It will be.
It's 6 o'clock.
You're not coming tonight?
I just see Bill. She said he'd be here.
Oh,
You ready to go?
Ricky won't be.
No,
You're-
I see that.
Okay, you're on. You're the first.
I'm on? Okay. I'd like to call this police and fire meeting to order. Mr. Burnside?
Here.
Mr. Bigley's absent. Mr. Ballack is here. The reason I called this meeting was to discuss the GPS systems on the police cars, and I had another councilman bring it to my attention that he felt that we should have some legislation on the book as to us being in control as to having the GPS systems on the police cars. So I didn't necessarily agree with that position, but I said that I would bring it up in council so we can discuss it to see if see how everybody felt about it. I feel that it's a more of an administrative position that they handle the administrative roles when it comes to the conduct and everything regarding the police. So I don't know. Anybody have any thoughts on that or?
Well, I think the mayor explained that we were paying double for the police cars and then the badges or the cameras on the police officers. But from what I understand, all the computers in the cars will have the GPS systems on them as well as the cameras, and that would be one bill for that.
They're two separate. So right now, but we have GPSs on two different systems, if you will. So currently we have the GPSs on the body cams.
Right.
And soon here, we have the new software program being updated, so we'll actually have two GPSs in each car. So we'll have the body cam with the GPS as well as the computer with the GPS. So yes.
So we're really not getting rid of the GPS in the cars.
In Mayor, if you don't mind,
Nope.
if I can expand on that.
Very well.
I don't have an issue, and the officers have never had an issue with GPS whatsoever. The previous administration had them, they worked fine. Why they're not being used now, I have no idea, but we do have on the body cameras, they don't give the information that we had before, where it comes to speed and some of the other things. This new program will enable us, I believe, to be more fully integrated with all the characteristics of the GPS system.
And so every car will have one in it?
Yes, every car has a computer in it now. Everything's going to be integrated from the receiving point of a call by the dispatch to silent dispatching into the MDT. The cars, and MDT is mobile data terminal. And each car will have access to that. It will have a GPS, it'll have a reporting system on it. So it's going to be a one-stop shop, this software. With that is the GPS. If that GPS doesn't live up to what our needs are, then I will come and speak to the mayor and recommend that we do get a standalone GPS unit that, like what we had before, that will be able to tell us almost real-time data.
So is this software a brand new, like we've never had this software before?
No,
or is this the same stuff that we've
No,
had
this
before?
is a brand new company.
And when will this take effect?
We've been waiting on the state of Ohio to upload our old reports through their system to integrate into this new system. So instead of, as it is right now, we've had 3 computer systems since we've become computerized, and each one has a couple of years of data, and this company was able to grab this data and put it on this new database. So the log jam, it was supposed to be in March or April. The log jam was the state of Ohio getting that information from them. And it was probably the most information, it was probably 11 years worth of reports. So they've captured all of it. Now they're just in the process of finishing up all the data retrieval. So I'm hoping come this starting of the year, we get trained on this and everything's gonna be moving forward. So 60 days or so. And I don't know if you guys remember, there was a dispatcher, his name was Jeff Bash, ended up working for the courts. He works with this company, so he's well tuned with what our needs are, and he's gonna be the one that's gonna be training us.
Well, I agree with Mr. Ballock that, you know, I think a lot of people don't realize what council is. Council is a legislative part of this government here. I don't have the time or the means to micromanage what the administration does. They were elected into that position to do that. The people elected them, and I feel the people have the trust in them to do that. So that's my stand on it.
Okay. Anybody else have a Dallas?
Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, we're just talking about GPS and, you know, who is going to be the governing body as to whether they're actually on the cars or if they can be removed from the cars.
Well, the intent is to put them back on the cars, or to correct?
Well, some way, shape, or form, we're gonna have GPS.
Okay.
I mean, we do now with the body cameras.
Okay. Yeah, I guess me personally had some concern, and obviously this isn't my department, and it isn't my choice to put them on or take them off or any of that. That's administrative. My concern from a liability standpoint is like when our cruiser was stolen. That was something that had a GPS been on there, it would have definitely alleviated a lot of liability from us. So I would like to see them on in the future, and as long as I'm satisfied if I know that they're going back on, and you guys are going to do that, that's great. You know, and mine was more from a liability standpoint in case of an instance like we had. But I'm sorry, I missed. Basically, the old ones were antiquated. Is that?
I'm not sure what the issue was. I know the cost was pretty extensive.
Okay.
And in a way to cut costs. And I didn't have anything to do with the putting in or the paying of the bill. You know, that came from the mayor's office, which, you know, it's fine. We didn't have a complaint with any of it. So I don't know what was even entailed with the payment of this, or how much it cost. It did not come out of my budget. So I had no idea that it wasn't being monitored. And that's through no fault of the auditor or the mayor. I think the company was an odd named company. So when the mayor's coming in and looking at things that, what's this, you know,
Sure.
that might be one of the things that's gone. However, we are looking to replace it
Great.
in one way, shape, or form. And the software is already bought and paid for. So if it fills our needs the way that we want it to, then that's an expense that we don't have to incur.
Sure. But Mayor, your intent is to put them back on in some form so that we do have tracking of the vehicles, correct?
Yes, absolutely, through the computer system and through the body cams and stuff. So we'll actually have 2 GPSs.
Great. So we'll have one on the vehicle and the body cam in case the officer is away from their vehicle, we would be able to locate them.
Yeah, and actually, speaking of the body cameras, we had the car chase that ended up in Poland. And while the one officer was chasing after one of the suspects, he lost his body camera. It came off through running. And when I arrived, he told me, and immediately I called it up on my phone. I looked this, and it took me literally 5 minutes to go and find it.
And that's great. I mean, at this point in technology, and how crazy it is out there, you never know what's going to happen with our officers. I really feel like that's something great to have on them. We never have to worry about, we know where they are. And I'm not saying we know where they are so we can keep an eye on them. We know where they are in case
exactly.
there's an issue.
Right. We
You
can-
know, they were in a chase,
we
they were in
can-
a fight,
we can find
whatever, yes,
Protects them as well.
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think you'll get any pushback from officers about?
No.
That's the only thing I was gonna say is if we had to put it
I
on
think it's
by
becoming a
ordinance.
standard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
same thing with the body cameras. For the older officers that I even wear one when I work church. It's just a new way of doing things, you know, so
We
they've
really didn't have
accepted
any
it.
pushback.
No,
from
none
anybody.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
And
That's
in
what
every
I'm thinking.
instance, it's protected us.
Good cop, bad cop. Like if you needed us to put something in place where like they had to do it, you know.
No, I don't believe that we've heard any
No.
complaints from any of them.
No.
The only problem we had is when an officer would go on a call before he got to the station. Then he didn't have to pick it up.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that they're going. They are in progress of going back on.
Okay. Mayor, did you have something else that you wanted to
No,
add?
that was all.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, as far as you're concerned, though, I mean, your intent is to keep the GPS systems
Yes.
operable on the police cars?
Yes, and
Okay.
it is administrative, but we don't make these, I don't make these decisions, especially things like that, when it comes to officer safety or resident safety or anything like that, without talking with our safety service director, with our police chief. So as long as we all feel comfortable in a decision, then that's the way we're gonna go. So it's not like I'm solely single-handedly
Gotcha.
making these decisions uneducated. We make sure we go through the proper channels and everybody's comfortable with these decisions.
Okay. Any council members feel that there's a need to push this issue any further as far as us, you know, having control of the GPSs on the police cars? No? Okay.
They answered all the
Yeah,
questions.
I mean,
Okay.
well, I mean, obviously, this is one of those instances where we were questioning something that they were already in the process of doing,
Okay.
you know what I mean, so.
Okay. And just food for thought, I mean, you know, having the GPS systems on the police cars is fine, but, you know, we also have a number of other, you know, city vehicles that, fire equipment, just
Yeah.
cars, you know, city cars. You know, that's,
I would think the same thing. I don't see any negatives to having them. I only see positives, and I only see liability relief in having them on the cars,
Right.
on any cars that we own. You know?
so something to, you know, kick down the road and give consideration.
And even with
The fire
fire,
trucks.
we have the iPads too that we can look at through, find that, so we have different technologies, newer technologies where we could just
Right.
find out some of that.
Okay. All right.
And with that too, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
The system, the software system that we are going to, and the guy's based out of Poland, and he's statewide. Trumbull County's going to him, a couple other places, but the fire department they have a fire reporting system as well that we had gotten into with our package. So the fire department's going to be going to the same reporting system. They are going to be tied in with our dispatch and our computer-aided dispatch. So their MDTs, so to speak, their mobile data terminals, they're going to be in line with ours.
Yeah.
So they're going to have the same software that we are too.
Do the firemen have the body GPS systems as well?
No,
I mean, is that something that we're considering down the road, or?
no, not body cams for fire. I don't
Okay.
know that we,
I think if they went into a fire with one, it probably would.
They do have systems, but they're much more expensive
Okay.
because of heat and smoke
Right.
damage and everything.
But they have like
so.
rescue beakers or something that they carry with them in case they get trapped
Yeah,
on
they
fire
do
or
have
something.
that.
Yeah.
Also here, we don't have massive buildings.
Right.
We have astroshapes, but aside from that, it's not like we're New York City, and our guys would be going into a building that is so massive it would be hard to locate if they got lost or got in trouble in. I mean, mostly what we have here are house fires and things like that.
They actually just got new stickers for their helmets so that when there's another department involved in the fire too, they know
Who to save and who to leave.
Well, prioritize at least, right?
Yeah. All right, does anybody else have anything for this committee? No? Okay.
for
Neither.
this committee, yes, just
Okay.
the collective bargaining agreement for the, I don't know if this would be more finance and legislation, or if it's something we need to discuss.
That would be me.
Okay.
Okay, all right, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Bob? I'll second that.
Second, I'm
Second,
sorry.
okay, all right. Meeting adjourned.
Sorry, Steve.
No, you're fine.
Thank
Want to roll right into finance and legislation now?
you.
We're bringing all of these out, or we're bringing them to the table, that's why they're here, I assume?
Yes, if,
Or you were just sharing them with me?
They're not all of them. It's
Okay.
just the ones with the paper clips.
Megan.
Those are mine.
This one,
You need to sign them, so when you guys bring them out. Just
okay,
the ones with the paper clips.
fair enough. All right, let's call this finance and legislation meeting to order. Mr. Burnside?
Here.
Mr. Carselli?
Here.
And Mr. Bigley is here. Okay, before we get into Mr. Bruno and dealing with what we had last week at council, let's go through this legislation. Megan, the stapled one's not paper clip.
No, those are just your copies for your
Okay.
record.
Those have to be signed.
Got it. Okay. What's that?
So you should just read them.
Apparently, I'm a little flustered tonight. I've been at work since 6 a.m. All right, first one, an ordinance establishing a credit card policy for the city of Struthers. Chrissy, you brought this to us. Do you want to speak? about it?
Right, sure. So currently the city only has 2 store credit cards that we use. We have, I've had a base policy on them where, employees could come in, they have to sign them out, they date it, you have to return it within 24 hours. They pretty much know that the policy was never in writing.
Okay.
The state has suggested that
We have
we
something.
have something. And second, on the other hand, there are many instances where currently, within the last year or two, a lot of places doing business will not accept a check or EFT, ACH, they want a credit card. Some of them being like, like the Zoom, they won't let me pay any other way, so instances like where employees are paying with their own personal credit card and I'm having to reimburse them. So I'm not really comfortable at this point getting a major credit card for the city, but our banking institution offers something that is a commercial credit card. How I would like to use it is I want it never to leave my office, but if someone needs to have an item charged, they could come in and we initiate it there. So I have one policy that covers 2 types of cards, and it's pretty simple. It's a 2-page document, not even page and a half. It says this is for this commercial MasterCard bank card, and the other one's for store credit cards. It's real easy. So this is also something that the banking institution requires that we have a policy on file in order for them to give this card to the treasurer. So.
Okay.
Great.
Anybody have any questions for Chrissy? Motion to bring it out?
Motion to adjourn.
Need a second? Okay, let's roll right into the next one. This is from Kat. A resolution authorizing the mayor to submit applications and execute contracts and act as chief executive officer for the Ohio Public Works Commission program year 2022 OPWC funded project, namely the year 2022 resurfacing project, and to designate the auditor as chief fiscal officer for all grant documents for the project, and to designate MS Consultants as project manager and declaring an emergency. Mary, you want to speak on it?
Sure, this is just, we did receive the OPWC funding. I believe you had to have they funded anything from 78 points and up. And I believe we were in either in 82 or 83, so we did qualify for this funding for next year's resurfacing. So it's just a normal, I don't think anything's different on here besides for the year.
So I got a question on this. So for the resurfacing for next year, do you have the streets Do you know the streets that are getting done?
Yes, they were already submitted.
They were already submitted to who?
Yes, to the project. We had to submit all of the streets to OPWC because they have to score them.
Mr. Burnside, can you sign that? That's from last week. You don't have a signed copy. Okay, anybody have any more questions for the mayor? Need a motion to bring it out?
Motion to bring it out.
Second?
Second.
Okay. An ordinance, next one is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a memorandum of understanding to amend the collective bargaining agreement between the city and the International Association of Firefighters Local 1910 to address wage reopener negotiations contained in Article 17, Section 3 of the collective bargaining agreement for the year 2021 and 2022 and declaring an emergency. Mayor?
Yes, this is, I was a little behind on this because I was supposed to have this to you guys before November, before that first pay period. So completely my fault, I didn't get it to you. We worked with Esposito to go over everything. We had many meetings with Chrissy to go over this to make sure it was something we could do. I know one of our engineers had gallbladder surgery, so we got stuck in my desk, and I apologize for not bringing it to you 2 weeks ago. We should have actually done this before that. So this is just the wage reopeners that we negotiated with the fire department.
Okay.
So they are satisfied, they're happy, we're happy. We think we both got a good, came to a
Good
good compromise with it, yes.
Okay, anybody have any questions for the mayor? Motion to bring it out.
Motion to bring it out.
Second?
Second.
Okay, next one is an ordinance adopting the flag design of 5 Points Creative by Ryan Burgowski as the official flag of the city of Struthers and repealing ordinance number 21-051. Mayor, we went over this last week, I
This
don't
was
know.
just the background color change.
Yeah, anybody, any questions for the mayor on the flag design? Motion to bring it out?
Motion to bring it out.
Second?
Thank you.
Dallas, can I address your committee before you? start?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Something real quick here. So, I don't know if everybody realizes it, but Shirley Sepisi in my office, who's been employed here for 10 years, works in the capacity of me, stormwater, and the sewage plant. Okay, she is a sewage plant bargaining member. However, the way the position was set up is her wages are paid from 3 different funds. A third from sewage, a third from general fund, a third from stormwater. So in looking at the fact that everybody has gotten a raise but Shirley, and wanting to bring Shirley up to obviously an equitable amount, it also dawned on me that I have no authority or mechanism to be paying Shirley's 2/3 because I have her listed in the bargaining agreement, but there should also be an ordinance that goes with that to authorize me to pay the 2/3 from these other 2 funding sources.
Okay.
So this is a twofold thing. I would like to propose to bring Shirley up. I would still like to only continue to take the amount that she's currently being paid out of sewage because the fund is very,
Depleted.
it's depleted and I don't wanna touch it. So what I would like to propose is to take currently what the amount would be the 31% would come out of sewage, and that I could give her a raise covered out of these other 2 funds, which would amount to 34.5% respectively of
Thank
her
you.
salary. I'm gonna have to probably reach out to Mike Esposito to see how I would word all this, because this is all new and weird to me. But before I went through all that trouble, I wanted to see that, you know, once I got this together, is council willing to bring Shirley up to a wage that is being enjoyed by the other clerical staff, some of which who have been here not even half the time that she's been here.
If Shirley got overlooked, then it was purely a misstep because Shirley is definitely an asset to the city. She's worked here a long time. And I would apologize if she got overlooked, and I think she should absolutely be brought up to rate with everybody else. But I do want to say this, I do think we brought a lot of people up last year, and we changed a lot of wages. So I do feel like with those wages, we need to be pretty prudent this year on not looking for another large increase or anything like that, more going with a standard cost of living. I mean, we're not,
Well, I don't know if you want to use that language, because in that case, everybody would be getting like a 6.5% raise.
well, no, that would be going with inflation.
Right? I mean,
I understand
yeah.
that, but what I'm saying is, we corrected a lot of salaries last year that were, by all of us agreed were underpaid. We corrected those. So what I'm saying is this year, and in following years to come, we should be going with a standard flat rate, whether it's 2%, whether it's 2.5%, whatever that rate may be. But I don't anticipate us taking these salaries and giving them a big jump again. I mean, we corrected these quite a bit.
Yeah, if this is something that needs to be corrected that we overlooked, then that's fine. But did we have that same problem with Linda when she was in there, as far as with the bargaining committee? Because she worked for the same.
It was the same setup with Linda, but
How come it's so big deal now?
well, the sewage plant didn't get any raises because they are having some issues with keeping a healthy fund, and for the most part, what that job was paid has been dictated by what kind of raises the plant got.
Okay.
So when they didn't get a raise, she didn't get a raise.
Okay.
And she's also,
She-
for lack of a better
but she-
term, had
she-
been
yeah.
overlooked for a
But
while.
she actually isn't in that category,
She's
right?
in their union.
I know. She's in the union?
She is in the union.
She's
She
gotta
pays
pay
union
you- oh, no
dues. She
kidding.
tried to get out of it. She couldn't.
Really? Just because she covers them?
She asked
She
to be
wrote
removed.
letters.
Did Linda have to
They-
pay
But,
union
well,
dues?
Absolutely.
Does only the part that is of her salary that is paid out of sewage and wastewater, does that portion there, her dues come out of that side of it?
Her dues come out of her total wages. See, that's where I said I need Esposito.
Yeah, that,
This was implemented before I was in this position, so I can't speak to, I mean, I obviously worked in there, but I don't know what they came up with to work this out. But in my opinion, as the auditor, I need a backup of a legislation to authorize me to pay the other 2/3,
Yeah.
right?
that makes sense.
So even if you didn't give her a raise, I would want this
Right.
to cover us, to say that we are legally paying this money out.
I don't speak for everybody, but if you're asking my opinion on this, Shirley definitely needs brought up. If she is lagging behind the rest of them and did not get the
She
raise,
is the
I
lowest
believe-
paid
Well-
person in the city at this point, full-time person.
then that's our
That's
that's my mistake.
yeah.
I mean, that's
She should be brought
Yeah.
up to everybody else.
She should
That's how I feel.
Shirley's
So
been
I'm
a
gonna try
great-
to get with Mike and see how I could word this even. And I will bring something back to this committee, but
Perfect.
said I wanted to just address you before I go through all that trouble,
Sure,
to see if that was something you'd be willing to entertain.
absolutely. Anything else?
But then now, if you go into negotiations with their union part next year, if they get raises, she will get a raise then as well?
We should be closing that up soon. I can't speak on until it's closed.
Because what I'm saying is, next year, which she can get a substantial raise because
We
of
have
the
a
union
three-year,
part.
She get
the
a
3-year
union raise?
contract. We have,
And October 2023.
Because
when they'll
this
talk
is,
about it
because this is the first time this has ever been brought up about the union part of her being paid by
Right.
the union.
Well, that definitely affects us being able to. They don't have their union doesn't have a collective bargaining agreement.
So
they do.
they do.
So I don't understand because we
They
don't.
got no raise this time.
But we don't. We don't control
What
the
unions
policemen. They're in a union. We don't control theirs. That goes through the collective bargaining agreement. We don't
This is
control
why I
their
need Mike
wages.
Esposito.
Because I just don't. I mean, I'm all for bringing Shirley up 100%.
Right, this is why I need
I just
the
don't know
labor
that-
attorney.
Are we capable of doing that?
I don't know. But before I would bother to do it, I wanted
Yeah,
to.
you have our blessing, and then
Okay.
please get back to us and let us know what.
I mean,
I
I
would
can't
like a legal
imagine that if
opinion
the
on that
city
as well.
says, we're gonna amend the contract for this raise,
You'll be able to.
they're gonna say no, especially,
She's part of, they can't.
I mean,
Again,
and we're not taking any more money from that fund.
But you,
That would stay the same.
you wanna give her the raise on the non-union parts that are being paid to her, correct?
Yes.
Yes and no. It's a tricky thing. So the contract will have to read what the hourly rate is. But it's funded where their funding is not going up, it's only going up. So it's
I
a,
understand. It seems like this is something that you're gonna have quite a bit to figure out.
yeah.
And honestly, when you do, let us know,
Okay.
and then.
And her
we'll go
union
from
dues
there.
are calculated on her total salary.
And no, I think it's a flat rate for all of
Flat
them.
rate for unions.
For all of
Okay.
them at this point.
But there would be a way around that, you know, we can't really give one person in a union a raise, that's, it's not really,
Yes, you can.
we can?
And we're not actually taking any more, because it's being funded. I don't understand how they did it to begin with, to
Didn't
be
you kinda
honest
do
with
that
you.
with Frank?
Frank DeMarco?
Yeah,
He's
well,
not
he's
in the-
not in the union.
Yeah,
that's right.
because he's a manager, so. But yeah, Chrissy, either way, we, just let us
I don't
know.
understand if even how it's being done. If she could be removed, she would like that. Like
Yeah.
she would like to come out of the union and be a regular employee.
Well, she
but-
really couldn't though, being that a big portion of her job is stormwater and wastewater, right?
Well, I mean, a third. Well, stormwater is not union at all. So it's 1/3 of her job is dedicated to the sewage plant.
Okay.
2/3 is a non-union part of her job. So
If you could get us more
Yeah,
information on this,
I
and we'll go
can't-
over it again, but as far as on our end, I don't think anybody has a complaint about bringing Shirley up.
it's above my.
Yeah, as
If
long
it's
as-
above
as long
yours,
as we do
then
it
we're
legally,
really in
that's
trouble,
fine.
Chrissy.
But I feel
What
bad
do you think,
because
John?
you know
Legal.
No clue.
she paid
No clue.
dues.
Yeah,
She's
I
got
think
no
it's
raise. Everyone
properly
else got
directed
raise.
as
She's
the
been here
Yeah.
over 10
Little over
years.
my head,
Absolutely.
too.
I, to be honest, now that you brought that up, I feel terrible that she was overlooked because Shirley's great. I mean, she's a great worker. She really is. She's a real asset. So if we're good on that, I'm going to read the last piece of legislation. An ordinance authorizing the city of Struthers to implement a plan to control wastewater backflow from entering into structures, authorizing payment, repealing ordinance number 04-078 and declaring an emergency. Mayor, this is from wastewater. Do you want to speak on this?
I don't have this.
No, it's one that I was waiting for to hear.
Would you
from
like to
John,
read
and he
it?
just told me.
I'm gonna refer to John on this one, because I think,
Okay.
John, you met with Guy today, correct?
No.
No, I gave him the piece, I met with Guy.
Do you want to?
Why don't you
Put this
take
on
out the
hold.
emergency clause? Because oh no, here's the thing. So we have 2 that they want to pay. That's why it's under emergency. There's 2 waiting for
Oh,
payment.
yeah.
What this does is it caps it at 5. So we're up to $1,500. So he obviously, I can't speak to the, logistics of how these people are putting these backflows into their house or why or whatever. All I know is about the money part, and they're wanting to reimburse up to 5 projects a year, up to $1,500. 50% capped at $1,500. I know that much.
Okay.
Other than that,
Let's.
It has
you
to be a backflow preventer, it has to be installed by a professional plumber.
Do you guys want to table this and then we can
Yeah.
go over it next week before the meeting, bring it out and we have a little bit more information?
I think we should have Guy come in.
I would agree. That's why I would say we just table it for now because we can easily bring it out in caucus next week and still pass it in a meeting if that's what's
Do
needed.
you want him here next week
Is that okay?
for caucus?
I would like some kind of explanation. Even, we could reach out to Guy. It doesn't matter to me, but I'd like to know more about this before we pass it.
I
Okay?
didn't even know we had that
6
program.
yes.
All right, so we'll just put this on pause for now. I don't have to table it, do I? Because
No, you
No.
don't.
it was
Just don't
just
bring it
read.
up.
We didn't. Okay. Okay. Maybe I'll give that back to
I'll
you.
hold it.
Anybody else have anything for this committee before we roll into this? Okay. Me and Jimmy, last week, Mr. Ballack, we talked to Mr. Bruno and Mr. Ford after the meeting. We asked them to come in today and speak, and it was more because last week, they only have a 3-minute time limit, and they seemed like they had a lot more to say. So we wanted to extend them the courtesy to speak to this council. But I would like to let you guys know, before we start speaking, this council generally defers to our legal counsel when it comes to interpretation of ordinances. So interpreting these ordinances, we'll definitely go through our legal counsel on this, okay? But we do want to afford you guys the right to speak and talk and be heard and, you know, tell us what's going on.
Well, first of all, since Joe's here, I was wondering if he can give me an update on what's going on at 620 Edison.
Is that the vacant?
Yeah, the last time I spoke to you, you said that the brother and the sister-in-law were supposed to have a meeting to discuss the sale of the house,
Yes.
and that you would notify me the results of that meeting. I was just wondering if you heard anything back.
Yeah.
Did they meet, or?
No.
Yeah, this is the brother and the sister, and
Yes.
yeah, I met with them. They do not have a very good relationship. I spoke to the sister, and I forget her name off the top of my head.
Debbie.
Debbie. Debbie seemed to be a little bit more reachable. I explained to her that there was a possibility that the property could be demolished. If it does get demolished, she would be responsible for the entire cost. The brother would be responsible for the entire cost. The brother wants the property, but because they don't get along and because they got a bad relationship, she doesn't want to just give him the property, and he doesn't have any money to buy it from her. The way I left it off was what I was trying to do is I was trying to, and the brother is said to me that he would fix it up, but he doesn't want to fix it up as long as the sister's on the deed, because then he's going to improve it, and it's by extension going to benefit her. Now, I don't really think the brother, from my discussions with him, I don't think the brother has the money to even fix it up. So again, where I left it off was I explained to them both this property, if nothing's done with this property soon, it could be subject to demolition. They would be responsible for the cost. And I was trying to convince the sister that it's probably in her best interest to just get away from this property and just give it to the brother. She was going to go talk to her husband about it, and then give me a call after they spoke to see what she was going to do. I haven't heard back from her since the meeting. So we're now in a position where they've been warned of the possibility of a demolition, and I guess we go from there as far as whether or not we actually condemn and demolish the property.
Did they get a list of the repairs that were needed to be made?
If I may, John, jump in.
Yep.
Timmy and I actually made contact with Nick, the brother. We went up there yesterday. Yesterday, we inspected the property. The main issues with the property is on the exterior of the thing. And I kind of I don't want to say I coached him, but I told him kind of the same thing, John. I said, I hate to see you dump money into this place and then something doesn't go south. However, if nothing's done to this place, then the city has to take its responsibility. So we're kind of a double-edged sword right now because we gave him 30 days to fix everything on the exterior of the property. The interior of the property was, in my opinion, I don't know if Tim, you want to agree, I thought it was in pretty good condition.
You guys were allowed in the property?
Yes.
He let access to?
He let us in, yeah. Okay, let us in. So we checked it out. We told him the issues that needed to be taken care of on the outside. And as far as that, I asked him as a courtesy. He said he's going to continue to try to meet with his. He made it sound like he was trying to buy out his sister. So whether he has the means to do that or not. Also, I kind of hit it and I asked him. I said, "Well, you plan on hiring a contractor to see the guy moves around on the cane. He doesn't move around very swiftly." And he kind of made it sound like, "No, I'm going to do the work." You know what I mean? So we all kind of know.
Yeah.
Where that would, you know what I mean?
Joe, I'm sorry, you sent him a letter and gave him 30 days to get the repairs made?
Yeah, and then we spoke to
You know
him.
when that's effective, when's it?
As of yesterday.
He has 30
As
days
of
from yesterday?
As of yesterday, like I said, and he kind of brought up the point, which I guess would be a John question. He's like, well, if I get the outside repaired and the inside stays vacant, and as long as I keep up on the grass and everything, what is it anyone's business? I said, well, to be honest with you, you're at this current point, you're right. I said I would ask, as a courtesy to the city, if you can keep us updated on the progress of whatever negotiations you work out with your sister, just so, you know, if people call, we know and we can inform them what's going on.
Joe,
Yes, sir.
when you inspected the inside, you didn't find any mildew, mold, or water damage?
No, I was actually surprised. I mean, it was a little outdated, but I thought it was in really good shape. Tim, Tim, you can give your opinion on some things, but
The cement walls downstairs look like they were just painted.
I even asked the guy, I was like, would you just paint these? He said, no. It was nice.
There is
No smell, no vermin, no break-ins, no copper
There's
missing.
absolutely no mold on the wall, on the exterior walls downstairs.
But even if there was, that's not a condemnable thing unless the house was polluted. I mean,
Or
this
if someone
guy,
was living there, then we
this
would
guy
have to-
granted you access to go in and look at the
He did.
property, which to me, I mean, I'm just being honest from the outside looking in, speaks kind of volumes. He didn't have to.
No, he didn't. And then, so I told Mr. Ford, I was like, you know, so I'm gonna aggressively go after this guy, and you can do it two ways. If he doesn't respond to any of our letters, then we can progressively go after it as a city. If he does, and he starts making little adjustments here and there, that's showing progress, which kind of hinders, you know, I mean, I hope the best, you know what I mean? He gets it, fixes it up, and if
Here's
it's
the
good,
thing,
beautiful
at
property.
the end of the day though, you're after getting these issues fixed.
Correct.
You're not after, oh, I hope he doesn't fix them so we can tear down his house, so we can do these. No, you're hoping that this gets back to good condition and conditions that meet our standards.
Yeah, I would like, that's a beautiful neighborhood, it's in between two beautiful homes, I would like it to match the same standards. You know what I mean? Yes.
Sure.
I don't wanna say the wrong thing, but yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Floor is yours, guys. Whatever.
Ernie, what about the house at 640 Edison Street? I think Matt on to. I was trying to explain at the meeting about there was a downspout problem there. So he replaced, he's 13 feet away from my house on that side of the house. And they replaced the front and back downspout. And I thought that was, well, the back downspout was really damaged anyway. It was all crushed and everything and leaking a lot of water. And then they put the two downspouts in, and when we get a rain heavy enough, what happens is it starts to come out the bottom where the downspout goes into the ground, front and eventually back. And I was saying that the pipe that goes out to underground to the street and supposed to go to a storm sewer, it's the opening in the curb is all clogged up with grass and dirt and that, so there must be some damage to the pipe under the ground, and it's backing up. And my front shrubs are right across from that downspout, and they get saturated with water, and I have expensive shrubs in the front. In the back, eventually the back one must be tied into the front downspout, because it will eventually start leaking from the bottom also, and then it goes over toward my cellar window well, which fills up with water.
Mr. Bruno, when you say these are backing up,
Yeah.
are they doing it under everyday rains, moderate rains, or are you guys describing when we're having these monsoons?
Well, a lot of it is at night raining. You can't really
It's
tell.
hard to tell.
But I have pictures of I have pictures on my phone.
I did see the
of
pictures.
The front one leaking, and the mayor saw how it was leaking and flooding my shrubs. Well, it depends. If it's just a light rain, it's not gonna cause that damage. But we get a lot of heavy rains.
John, would you be able to?
But the thing I want to ask is, it spells it out in the ordinance. You don't have to enforce the ordinance.
So those downspouts are not tied into the ground. Is that what you're saying right now? Like
They're not tied into a storm sewer. It says right in the ordinance that they have to go to a storm sewer.
So where are those downspouts are just going into the yard?
Well,
No, they go to the curb. They go to
you're
the
supposed to go to the curb out front, but the thing is, the pipe and I had that happen in my property several years back, where those old pipes, they don't last forever, and I had to correct it. He has to correct the flow out to
So
the
there's
street.
a hole somewhere in the pipe.
Well, I don't know if it's a
No,
hole. What
what
it is.
Mr. Bruno is saying is that it's tied in and it goes out to the street, but it's clogged somewhere between the house and the street, so it's backing back
The
up
water's
when it
backing
rains.
up.
That's what he's describing, correct, Mr. Bruno?
Yeah.
So on lighter rains, you don't have that issue. So it's a matter of, at what capacity
How do you
is
determine
the.
the lighter rain from the heavier rain?
Well,
It needs to be snaked out.
Sometimes lighter rain takes longer time for it to back up.
Right, but the point I'm getting at is, let's say for example, somebody had a blockage to their heart and it was 80% blocked. Still their heart is still functioning and everything, but there is a blockage, but it's still doing what it's supposed to do, but not under ideal circumstances. So I guess what I'm getting at, is it possible that there is a blockage, but it's not enough to stop a
Everyday
slow, just a kind of a drizzly, light rain, but when we have a heavy rain, it's not capable of keeping up at that point.
But the point I'm trying to make is, he's not in compliance with the ordinance. And are you telling me that he doesn't have to be?
No, the drains don't have to be directly tied to the stormwater. It has to go to the street, which goes to the stormwater.
But Mr. Bruno, I thought you said last week, and again, I could be wrong, when you were out there, that your interpretation of it was that by saying tied in, it meant going to the street,
Directly,
which was going to a
But
throughway.
That's how it is in all the houses.
Correct,
on our street.
correct.
That's
It
what.
goes to the street, then it goes to the storm sewer.
I think that's how it is pretty much everywhere around,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I would say 80% of them.
But the ordinance says that, in regard to the, it says all roofs of every dwelling structure shall be maintained weather-tight and shall be equipped with gutters and downspouts connected to a public storm sewer.
Okay. Well, that
Not
would
just
be
running towards it.
that would be your house would fall under that same criteria then.
Right.
Are
So,
you
I mean,
are
so-
you guys at the street, or are you tied directly into the storm sewer?
To the street.
So that you're not in compliance either.
My storm, it
What
goes,
I'm asking you is your downspouts and gutters on your house.
mhm.
You're saying that they're not in compliance because, and I just want to make sure I'm understanding this right. They're not in compliance because they're merely ran to the street.
Mhm.
But you're saying your gutters and downspouts ran the same way, just to the street. Is that correct?
I don't know, some of mine might be tied into the sewer because.
I'm just trying to
Some of them
understand.
might not.
I only
In front
have
of my
one
house.
that goes to the street. The others are tied into the storm
Okay.
sewer.
Well, now you're not supposed. I
Mine
mean,
could be
you're not
both
supposed to tie in directly to the storm sewer now,
No.
correct, Tim?
To the sewage.
No.
Some of the old ones were
No,
are
storm
combined,
sewer,
right?
Not supposed to be tied into the storm sewer either.
Right.
Because when you get a storm like that and the storm sewer fills back up, now the waters go back to the house.
Right, and I believe from talking to Guy that he said that they shouldn't be tied in a storm sewer because our flows are way too heavy. Then nothing's getting filtered out. It is directly into there.
So we're gonna have to change.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean,
Well, a lot of those houses wouldn't be tied into a storm sewer because the sewer isn't located near enough to have it tied into the storm sewer. Most of them go out to the street.
street.
And
Correct.
then the water runs down to the sewer.
And the issue that they're having next to him, and I had the same issue with mine, those pipes are probably clay pipes, and over time they collapse.
Sure.
Yeah,
You know, if there's trees there, the roots are gonna go into those trees, and those pipes are gonna collapse, they're gonna get dirt in them, and then even if you get a moderate rain, those things are gonna back up, and that's what's happening.
So
But how
I'm
would we
stuck
know
with the
if-
problem of the overflow water that should be going out to the street and it's not.
But
Why
how would
should
we
I
know
have to
without
put up
digging it up?
I'm sorry.
Don't we have to dig everything up before, so we can find out? Like, I
I
mean,
mean,
this just
well,
happened
here's-
at my house, and personally, like, we had to actually have somebody come and dig up our yard and replace it because we had the clay pipe. But we didn't even know it was happening. It was just our back gutter,
To get some
they tied everything in to go to the street. And
It's
they told us not to tie it in too.
important before we dig too far into this too. John, are you interpreting this ordinance in the same manner that they are?
I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. You're saying that the ordinance requires them to a free, unobstructed flow of water to the street. And I don't interpret it that way.
Okay, then how do you interpret it then? What,
They're
what am
they're
I-
connected in the same way that you are connected. They're connected. There is blockage. There's no doubt about it. But as Jim said, how do we know if it's 20% blockage, 80% blockage, 90% blockage? It's because it's not working effectively but they're still connected in the same manner that you are connected. They're just blocked up. That's not our responsibility to enforce anything there. And as I've said, I think the last time I met with you guys, just because we as the city, as the government, don't have the ability to go to that guy and say, we want you to dig up this line and we want to see how blocked up your line is or what size line you have in here, does not mean
Wait a
that you
minute,
don't.
what difference does it make if it's partially blocked, a third block, hardly blocked?
Because we
at
don't
all?
have anything on the books that says it has to be.
It's causing a backflow of water that's coming over to
So-
mine and causing problems.
And you have to pursue a civil lawsuit. That's a civil lawsuit. That's not a city issue there. We don't have anything on the books that says you have to have a completely unobstructed.
That's not the way I interpret it.
Okay, well, and with all due respect,
The ordinance doesn't say that.
it doesn't say what you're saying either.
Well,
It doesn't.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
Mr. Ford.
Because
No, it doesn't.
you want to take it literally because it says storm sewer. So how are the other houses on the street going to go to a storm sewer that's not close to their house?
Including yours.
I get it.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that.
I have a storm
You're
sewer.
arguing about
I have
the
a storm
blockage.
sewer right in front of my house.
But
But
Mr.
you're connected to it. You're connected to the street,
Right.
and it goes into the storm sewer.
No, it doesn't go into that storm sewer. It goes down the street to another storm sewer.
Well, then what's the difference with your neighbors going to the street then?
I don't have any problem with that. His doesn't go to the street.
It does go to the street, you're saying but you're getting a backflow of water. It's
On heavy rains.
His pipe that used to go to the street, there's nothing comes out of there. It's all clogged up.
But that's not the city's problem. We can't
Mr.
go on that
Ford.
property and fix that.
Mr. Ford, you had a comment?
Well, to go along with what you were talking about, John, there's another ordinance, section 1397.07, it says general maintenance requirements.
Right.
All dwelling structures and all exterior parts thereof shall be maintained in good repair and shall be capable of performing the function for which such structure or part of any feature thereof was designed or intended to be used. So does that have any relationship
Well,
to?
again, I have to present this in a court of law if he gets cited into court. It is functioning, maybe not completely functioning, but it is functioning. How do I show what degree it has to function? I mean, I don't know how I show that. So I don't even know how we show that it's blocked, the extent to which it is blocked, and because I would think on a normal rain there is water that is coming out to the street from that line.
No,
It's
there
just
isn't.
okay. Well, again,
There's no water that comes out where it's supposed to come out.
just because the city may not be capable of doing anything does not mean that you don't have recourse against that guy. Doesn't mean that. You just don't want to hear that. You want the city to do it.
Unbelievable.
I think what he just read, and I'm gonna disagree with you 100%.
That's right.
Because what he just read, that is not working, that is not functioning. If that was my neighbor and that water was going in my well and was going on my property, I would not be a happy camper.
On a downpour though, we're getting, this is
It
happening
doesn't
like that.
matter.
Sure it does. Sure it does.
Okay.
Sure it does.
It's not
Well, we have a
always
lot of
a
downpours.
downpour.
This
We do
isn't,
have a lot.
It's not always
So-
a downpour, it just takes longer if
Right.
it's a slower rain.
and it
We're
says that
you're
it's not
nitpicking
functioning.
now.
I'm not nitpicking.
Hell you ain't.
Well, again, I think you're coming to the city asking the city to solve a problem that you could solve with your neighbor. We don't.
Well, why do you have these ordinances then if you don't want to enforce them?
I'm not saying we don't want to, and I didn't mean to cut you off if you were still.
No, it's just the fact that like it's not functioning, and it can be. I mean, we get rain a lot, and I get it. It wasn't just that one rain this year that everybody got flooded, right?
No,
This
it's every
happens.
rain and I'm getting.
Yeah, so it's not just a
Again,
a
Lord,
one,
I think
you know.
what Mr. Bruno is saying too is that it's completely clogged. But on a slow rain, you're not getting as much volume.
Sure.
That pipe holds a good amount of water.
And they should
So
have to
as it's
fix
coming
that.
down, it takes
The pipe
longer to
doesn't
fill
go
the
out.
pipe before
The pipe
that.
is all clogged. There's no water goes out the street from that pipe.
No, I
Checked it
understand.
1,000 times.
You mean we can't force them people that live there to get a roto-rooter or something?
Well,
They might sue in civil court.
here's the thing. Joey is our property code enforcement agent.
Mm-hmm.
He's part of the administration. Before he deems something enforceable, he is going to refer to John. Am I right on that?
I have no problem citing anybody, as you all know, but without his blessing, I'm not gonna
But I guess the point of this whole conversation is why is it on the books if there's nothing we can do about it?
Well, I think
You
that
know
a
what I
lot of
mean?
these ordinances are outdated.
But
and
this
they,
is only from what, 2014?
yeah, well, the parts of it
That's
are, parts of it are
that's
from
like
1960.
The one that says after the storm sewer is 2014.
Okay.
So that's something that I think is our responsibility to follow up with. Maybe we should take it off the books then if it's something that we can't even control or do
I
anything
agree that we need to
about.
address the ordinance.
Absolutely.
That's without question.
This is from 2002, this one that he just wrote here.
That's the .07.
Well, the other one.
Yes.
Okay.
There's
And that
Another
one,
one in there from 1963.
and that one seems okay to me because
Well, if it seems okay, then why can't we enforce it? Because it's all dwelling structures and all exterior parts thereof shall be maintained in good repair and shall be capable of performing the function for which the structure or part of any feature thereof was designed or intended to be used.
Well
It's
read.
not functioning.
So we need our
It's
stormwater
not
manager
functioning.
to.
It's
Should
not
be there
on a
functioning
rainy
properly
day.
because it's blocked up, but it
See
is
if
but not
anything's
functioning
coming
is
out.
not functioning to me
It's
is
not functioning.
yeah, I agree. I agree
From
with Laura on
council's
that.
standpoint,
That's not what
Okay.
the ordinance says.
as the chairman of finance legislation, our only authority in this is to revise or change the ordinance. We have, Mr. Ford, I just want you to hear this. As this council, I wanted to make sure that you guys were able to voice what you have going on, okay?
And I appreciate that.
I understand, but that's my job, so you don't sweat it. But at the end of the day, our only recourse is to change or revise the ordinance. Our recourse, we have nothing that we can force Mr. Rudzik to cite them, or we could force some kind of chain reaction of things that are going to alleviate this situation. We're legislators. We aren't administration, and like I said, Joey, Mr. Rudzik here, works for the administration. He is going to defer to Mr. Zamoyda's opinion on the ordinance to whether or not he can cite them. So I can't go cite them for you. I can't force them to do any of that.
What's the purpose of those ordinances though?
I believe
What do
that.
they cover?
Well, that's
They
why
don't cover-
I really think
what
the
I said
ordinances
is-
are outdated and they definitely need changed.
But they're not changed.
I think that that's something we need to look into. I mean, as council, I think
So what
we
would
need
we
to.
do? Would we put in there that if that is not enforced or if that is not working correctly, then we would have our property code enforcement be able to, I mean, what do we?
But how do you determine whether it's working or not?
Well, here's
It
the
could
thing.
be working 10%.
Let me play devil's advocate. Say you guys give me
not
But
the.
even if it be
Well,
working
if it's backing up in
10%.
your property, is it working?
It's
No.
not working,
It's not
no
working.
percent.
Doesn't
Do you
matter.
know what if
Yeah.
it's a small line in there and it is working, it's just not capable, it doesn't have the volume
Well,
to take that amount of water.
Then
John.
it's not working properly.
John.
Sure it is.
It is. It's doing what
Maybe
Can
if
I-
you had,
I can take this on both of you because if you have a too small of a line in there, then maybe that's something that needs to be put in the ordinance of what size line
Agreed.
should have to be in there.
We
And I
don't know what
understand
the problem is.
that's a way to do.
But Lori, we don't know what the problem is. It could be it just has a small line in there and it's not big enough to carry the volume when it rains that hard, and it could be completely unobstructed.
Correct.
And it's working properly. I don't know what the problem is.
But what I'm saying is our job as legislators is to make sure that those ordinances actually serve the people that we reside over. Okay?
So there's no way in telling what exactly is causing that.
Well, I'm just saying. Let me play
Well-
devil's advocate. You guys give me the green light. I cite this guy. He appeals it. He comes into
To you, comes to council.
and he comes to
Give
council
the administrative
just like
citation.
they are. And he say, "Well, prove that my line is not running properly." And then what do we do?
Well, I guess
We say that there's no water coming out of it.
the proof would be that no water's coming out at the street
well,
and
you
that
gotta
it's backing
scrap
up
all your ordinances.
at the house.
Because you can't enforce them. You can just
Well, we
throw them
can't,
away.
we can't
They don't mean
really
anything.
say what it is, I
The
get
ordinance
that.
doesn't mean anything at all. You might as well just throw them away.
I
What a
think
waste of time.
I think that the second ordinance
You must
that
have Superman vision.
Who, me? You
Yeah.
must too. Do you know what the problem is?
No, but you
Okay,
gotta-
so you don't know
the
what
way
the
you
problem
find out is you gotta fix the pipe.
How? We can't go on that guy's yard and dig his line up. We can't do it.
That's not what the ordinance says.
We can't. It doesn't say we can either. We cannot go on that guy's property and dig his line up.
Okay.
What if we came in your front yard and dug yours up?
Dug your bushes up, because we wanna dig your bushes up.
Well, you might, you can come up when they're all die, you can come up and take them out. You guys are crazy.
Mr. Bruno, I know you're upset, Mr. Bruno. What would you suggest we do? Like, I'm not being a jerk. I just
I'm
want to know.
through suggesting.
You know,
I don't want to suggest anything.
Fair enough.
Since I got your ears for 2 minutes.
Go ahead,
If you don't mind.
Sure.
I guess, Joe, this would apply to you. In the 500 block Edison, when you come up the hill, there's a big white house right at the top of the hill. And the guy has a bunch of lawn equipment, like trailers and that you would haul lawn tractors and that in. Is that something that's allowable in Struthers?
I think it's single axle, correct? Single axle is, dual axle is not.
Okay.
And I believe that the ordinance states could be used to, dual axle, it could be used to haul freight.
Which house, is this opposite of your house?
It
On
would
the
be, if
opposite
you're
side of the
standing at the
street?
bottom of my driveway, looking across the street, it would be to your right.
Is this with the semi that we,
Pardon me?
is this the same house with the semi?
That was across the street.
Not the same house though?
No, it's it's 3 doors down from that house. And there's also an RV parked in the driveway too. I don't know how long they're allowed to park the RV there. But it's just an issue I had because it's starting to look like a junkyard there.
Joe, would you be able to go up there? and
Yeah,
check that out?
absolutely. Yeah, if there's a dual axle, and like you explained to me the easiest way, if there's 2 tires on the back, then that's a dual axle.
That's it.
And then I'm learning, Tim. I'm learning.
And then one last thing, I guess I'm going to be nitpicking right now.
Sure.
And mainly I'm bringing this up because of the house across the street, okay? Which is deteriorating very quickly, but there's nothing we can do about that. But there is an ordinance from 2002 about garbage receptacles. They have to be stored in the back of the house.
Yeah.
They can't be stored in the front.
Correct.
There's a lot of people, on Edison. That's all you see are these blue trash receptacles right in front of their garage or in front of their breezeway. So I don't know if that's something you enforce or not.
100%.
But
We can
to be
even,
truthful, it looks like crap when you're driving around Struthers and you see everyone's garbage cans in the front of their house.
Do you have the
Maybe I'm
ordinance
being
number on that
nitpicky
too?
here and I'm just a grumpy old man, but
No,
Can you give the number
to
on
be
that?
honest, Mr. Ford, I appreciate you coming in here, voicing your concerns for these things, because I'll be honest, I'm not on Edison very much, and it's not something that I see on a daily basis.
and we
So-
can even make some kind of social media post saying, don't forget, you can't do this. Cause some people may not know that they have to do that. But I wanna say we sent a letter
What
to that house.
what's that? Yeah, we did for sure. Edison, what's the trash night there, Mr. Bruno? What night do you put your trash out?
Mr. Ford.
Sunday
Mr. Ford, I'm
night.
sorry.
Sunday
You
night.
put it out Sunday, so okay. So Monday, if we go up there, they should be gone Monday or Tuesday.
Monday it should be out.
Yeah, but if
Tuesday.
you drive up Edison right now, or tomorrow, you'll
There'd be
see
a
a
bunch.
I
lot
will.
of trash receptacles in front of people's garage or in front of their porches.
You can't
And I
have-
brought this up before, and this will be the last thing, and I'll let you go. But it's that upper block of Edison it's getting bad. You know, there's the Albanese's house, I don't know what's going on with that house. I don't know if Carol Jean is still living there, but I know it's in the sister's name as well.
There was a car in the driveway yesterday.
Yeah, that house, it's starting to look bad. That house, with the trailer in the driveway, the house across the street from me, and the house next door. There's 4 houses in that upper block. It's really, it is debasing and devaluing the neighborhood. And I would hope there would be something that we can do.
We do have, on a lot of stuff like that, we have ordinances on the books, as far as blight goes, as far as
Yeah, I
maintaining
mean,
your property.
Yeah, it says that it can't debase or devalue the property, and I don't know what constitutes debasing or devaluing, but I just think if you just do a naked eye test and right up the street.
Well,
you can
and
see it.
honestly, like you just said too, a lot of these ordinances are very generalized. They're not generalized, they're very broad. They're, like you just said, I mean, devaluing or defacing, what makes that determination? So my goal is to reword a lot of these ordinances so they're a lot more enforceable.
They need to be a lot more descriptive.
Yeah.
Well, I think
What constitutes debasing or devaluing a property, it's very, very vague in the ordinance, and it's open to interpretation. what looks bad to you may not look bad to me and vice versa.
My biggest
So it
complaint
needs
with,
clarity as you look at Albanese's house. Tell me that's not devaluing the neighborhood.
I agree.
That's a beautiful house that's just falling into decay.
that's my biggest complaint with, first of all, a lot of our ordinances and law in general, is there's such a gray area in most of it. That if it were black and white, it would be a lot easier, you know what I mean? You can see, for instance, okay, your gutters have to be intact. If your gutters are hanging, they're not intact. That's a black and white, wrong or right. You know what I mean?
You see out there, like that
Correct.
pipe is
But
tricky,
when
you
you're
can't
saying
see it.
devaluing or defacing the neighborhood, that's a could be anything. You know what I mean? It's one person. It's an opinion.
It could be a lot more descriptive when you write that ordinance.
I agree.
You know,
And we have been going through
for example,
it.
like, you know, paint.
Paint
You know, if you have
chipping
a
off,
house where the
yeah.
paint's all chipped off like the house next door.
I agree with you 100%.
Our biggest asset is taxes that are past due. If they stick up with if they're up with their taxes, that
Okay, but
makes it
that
so
house
hard
next
for
door
us
to me
come
though,
up.
that house next door to me, they went 5 or 6 years in arrears. They had a back tax bill of about $7,000 up until last year. So how long did they go without paying their taxes?
That's all county though. They handle all
But
that. That's
shouldn't that
nothing
be
we
something
have.
though that the city looks at and initiates something? Because that's tax revenue that you're missing out on.
Well, we can, like,
That's
what-
the
We
county.
can, but
When we-
that's all, we have to contact them and then they either.
Well,
have a
also,
payment
Mr.
system or
And
whatever
I'm not
working out.
I'm not sticking up for anybody one way or the other, but your property tax goes to the county,
Right,
and then it goes to the schools mostly.
right.
The city actually sees probably around 15%.
But it's still 15%.
I agree. I don't want to lose
You know,
1%.
you're talking about giving people's raises and GPS systems and that, couldn't the city use that 15%?
Absolutely, we can use any dollar we can get.
Right, right.
You know,
And
but I agree with you on a lot of these ordinances, and I think most of our goal here is to change a lot of them, make them much more easy to enforce.
Yeah, and I can
And-
tell you, even with this position right here, there have been a lot of ordinances that we've already went over with council that we've changed and made more exact and more detailed already. But it's just going through them as we come about, but we have been doing that since.
And I think it'd be a safe argument for John to make also, if I go to Mr. Ballock's house and I cite him for 3 different ordinances, you know what I mean, breaking the ordinances 3 different times in 6 months, I would say that's a pretty good cause of him devaluing the neighborhood. If his gutters are constantly hanging, if his roof shingles are hanging, that would be pretty constant, I would say.
And speaking of that, that house across the street from me where they had that moving van parked there, did you tell me that you sent them a letter and that you mentioned about getting their shrubs cut down?
Yeah, it was the one they had to get their trash cans in the back, they had the gutter coming down, and then the shrubs.
And then they had the van, and now they got the Batmobile parked in the driveway.
I didn't see the Batmobile yet.
Take a ride up and see that beautiful.
Well, looks like I'll be on
car
Edison
driveway.
tomorrow, so.
Yeah. But did you mention something about their shrubs in the front?
They probably got
I
a.
thought you told me you did.
Yeah, no, they would have got a tree shrub ordinance. If I can find it, my phone doesn't die.
I just want to say, Mr. Ford, I appreciate your patience here. I know this is an irritating situation, and I just appreciate you coming in and sitting down and talking to us. You know, not being irate. I appreciate it.
I'm not here to cause anyone grief.
I
I've
understand
been
that.
living on that street for 57 years, and I see it going to hell real quick, and that's why I'm here. If I didn't care, I wouldn't be here.
Appreciate that.
To be honest with you, we need more people, whether we think you're paying the ass or not. But if everyone was like you would have
That's fine.
If everyone,
I
no,
pay taxes.
that's what I'm saying. But I want everyone can ask and have a house that looks like yours. Believe me. So.
I pay my taxes, so I can be a pain in the ass, right?
Yeah, but when we met with you before and you kept insisting that we needed to go into this house because there was mold in it and everything.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, I'm done with that. I'm done with, you went in the house, you said it's okay, I'm
You know
dropping it.
what, I
I'm not-
couldn't believe my own eyes when I went in that house.
I believe you, I'm gonna drop it, I'm not gonna pursue that, but the exterior, it still needs a lot of work.
Yes, it does.
You know, their downspouts, their gutters need fixed, the
There's a
eaves
hole,
need
there's
fixed.
a hole in one of the soffits. I told him he needed to get that fixed.
I'll drop the inside, I'm not gonna pester you about that, but the exterior, something
yeah.
needs to be done.
Yeah, we told him there was trees that needed to be cut up because they're right up against the house going up.
Well, I don't know if you noticed what happened though, the one downspout in the back corner of the house, it's about 8 feet from my house.
It's not this high up from the,
It's about that high up, but I don't know if you noticed, but there's a tree there. And the tree grew into the pipe that goes into the ground, so that pipe was crushed. And there's about a good 12-inch gap between the downspout and the pipe.
He did.
And when it rains, that water goes right to the side of my house. You know, and it's only like 8 feet.
Joe did
There's
point
not a
that
lot
out to him.
Pardon me?
He did point that out to him. When we were
Okay.
there, we walked around the whole outside of the house with him.
But my question is, he supposedly has 30 days to get it fixed, and then you start finding him if it's not? Because I've been dealing with this for like 7 years now. I know who these people are. Okay, the brother and sister do not get along. The brother didn't get along with the mother. Okay, the brother didn't get along with the mother. The mother left the house to the brother and sister. They don't get along. He wanted that house when she died. She wouldn't give it to him. Okay, she wanted to sell it to him, but he does not have the money. He doesn't have 2 nickels to rub together. So he's not going to be able to afford to buy that house. The only way that he's going to get that house is if she gives it to him. And I doubt that that's going to happen.
That house will flip so fast.
There's a guy sitting right here that would buy it. No, but again, I think our end of this is revising a lot of these ordinances so that they are cut and dry and a lot easier to enforce. And the one that you did read, I think we do need to go over, because as far as them being connected directly to a storm sewer. But we are gonna have to take input from stormwater management.
Be careful.
But they do have to be connected though, right?
Stormwater's gonna tell
It's
you.
true. I mean, in my opinion.
If you have a downspout that ends here and the pipe's here, does that count?
No.
I certainly wouldn't to me.
Okay.
I mean, if you're asking my opinion of it, yeah, it certainly wouldn't to
And if
me.
you have a downspout that's crushed, that probably got backed into by a tractor, that's literally crushed where it goes into
Plus,
the
like
pipe.
you mentioned the clay pipe, a lot of those are black corrugated pipe too, which literally crushes over the weight of the ground over time. I mean, that stuff is the same way.
Yeah. Well, mine was clay because my house was built in the mid-50s.
Well, a lot of people replaced theirs in the 80s and the 90s, and they didn't use
Yeah.
the green, XDR pipe that is crush resistant. They used black corrugated pipe. But I do think we need to revise the ordinance. I think we need to sit down with wastewater management and or stormwater management and get their input.
Well, stormwater is not gonna tell you, it's recommended that you take your downspouts and run them onto your grass.
Filtering.
To filter the water before it gets to the street.
Yeah, and plus, not only just filtering it, but there'll be a lot less.
I'm not saying it's
I know,
right or
but
wrong.
I mean, just using common sense. If you disconnect your downspouts and that water's running out into your
How
neighbor's
much
yard,
flooding's gonna
and you
go on
ruin
in
your
Struthers
neighbor's,
if you
that
do
doesn't
that?
make sense.
And that's what the EPA is saying. This
It-
is
it-
why
it-
when we open up this, it's gonna be opening up a can of worms. That's why I just
There's no
wanna,
common sense in what they're saying with that.
Absolutely not.
If I
totally
live right
agree
next
with
door to you and I
I'm telling you,
disconnect my
that's-
downspouts and all my water runs right onto your property, like what's going, Mr. Bruno, they're saying that that's okay.
Yeah, well, they're looking at it as it's an overflow for the, it's more than the treatment plant can handle, and it creates environmental issues that way. So, I mean, it's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, so.
that's
which
why
is-
when we go over ordinances, as long as Guy and Frank are, I
Right.
just don't want anything created, please, without
Sure.
their input.
Oh,
because
oh,
it's-
Of course not.
absolutely, yeah.
I mean, that's their profession. I mean,
Yeah.
again, at the end of the day, I think Jimmy put it best. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just literally trying to take all this in and help as much as we can to make the city as good as we can, Truly, we are. I certainly don't want to put anything into effect that's going to hinder anybody as far as now flooding issues or anything like that. But we do have the EPA and saying one thing.
And your next door neighbor telling you something else.
Correct. So, I mean, again, this is going to be difficult, but it's our job to do, so.
I had one question for you, John, and that is the second ordinance that he read about the maintaining of. Does that give you any teeth to do anything with this?
Well, again, and I actually texted Joey and I told him to go take a look at, I would like to see pictures and evidence of what it looks like on a normal rain.
Okay.
Again, I don't I don't know what the problem is with that line.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
But if no water's coming out, there's obviously.
if there's absolutely no water coming out, then you're correct, it is not,
Maintain.
it's
It's
not
not
doing
being
what its
maintained.
purpose is.
Okay,
So if we have video that shows that there's absolutely no water coming out of it,
okay.
then I think we have an argument that we can make.
Are you
Okay.
talking the water coming out of the curb?
Yes.
Is that what you're-
Yeah.
No, that's completely blocked, there's no water that comes out of it,
Okay.
it's completely blocked.
Do you have a video of that or anything?
Yeah.
Right now.
Well, I mean,
That would be,
if they provided that for
I
you.
mean,
Well,
that'd be
we
something
can
that
have
would
spray-
be-
the
we
curb.
have-
we could have somebody from
We can
the
have
street
a
department go out and do that.
Okay.
If there's absolutely no water coming out on a regular, everyday, normal rain, then I would say that yes, you could certainly rely on that ordinance, and that's what I told Joey, is to get
Okay.
me, have somebody get me a video of what that looks like on a regular rain.
Well, yeah, it's supposed to rain all
The
day
opening's
tomorrow.
blocked altogether.
Okay.
Because I saw it, I went up there, it's blocked altogether, it's packed with mud.
So having a video of that, I mean, then this could be a game changer.
At least have Mr. Rudzik go up there tomorrow. It's supposed to rain all day.
I'll go up with him tomorrow.
There you go.
We'll see if just the edge of that, could be possible, just
Part of it.
this
He
much
said
of
he
that.
could see mud.
Yeah, it's packed tight, there's nothing coming out of there.
That's what I'm saying,
But
was
it
that,
could be just curb length.
but is that blacktop that's up in there and then mud got up behind it from when they paved the street? I don't know.
No, there's still an opening of the pipe, it's not completely blocked by the blacktop.
You're saying at the curb.
At the curb.
But no water is coming out.
Well, I never saw it rain, but just looking at it, it's blocked. I don't see how water could come out of it.
Okay.
So that's something that can just be cleaned right there.
Well, and also, I think in reconstructing the ordinance, we need to make sure that we word it in a way that these things are, if we keep them to the street, then they're maintained.
Well, we already have them when it's
It
in, it
just
has
says
to be
maintaining.
maintained.
Yeah, the ordinance is there saying that, you know, for its
If we
intended
can
use.
visually and verify that it's not working properly from the street, that's all we can do, is visualize it from the street.
Right.
Then you can send them a letter, say, you gotta clean that out. And if they don't do it, then you start finding them. That's the only thing we can do. We are not allowed to go on private
Right, you
property.
can just visually look at it standing on the street and you can see.
It's supposed, I think it's supposed to rain.
It is.
So Joey will be able to do that, and
Yeah.
I'll be there with.
we'll take it from there.
All right.
Appreciate
Well,
it,
thank
Mr.
you,
Ford.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes. thanks.
Hopefully, get your problem solved for you.
Yeah, sooner or later. All right, see you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, anybody got anything for finance and legislation? No, we'll call for adjournment. Does anybody want to discuss anything that was said or the?
One thing I will say, I was talking to Kat about putting some of our ordinances out there, like maybe going over one a week and just seeing what it says. We can review it, see if anything needs changed or tightened up, and then putting it in the journal and like saying like, did you know, like this is an ordinance, this is what it means, type of thing, or even online on Facebook.
And then
Would
I
I-
talked to Dallas too, and he had a good idea of because there are so many things that are outdated, now it's gonna take, it's
Oh, yeah,
nothing
it's
that we're
forever.
gonna fix immediately.
No.
It'll
It's
need
something
fixed
that's
again
specific.
by the time we
Yeah.
fix it.
Yeah.
That's how long it'll take. So what I had asked was that Kat could possibly reach out to the department heads that deal with that specific function. So under things that would deal with police ordinances, under things that would deal with fire, under things that would deal with storm water, if those department heads could go over some of those and see a way that we could help those or streamline those,
Or update it.
they know better than we do.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
us going over them,
I would rather go by their recommendations.
Absolutely.
than not going in blind.
correct,
Yeah.
Yeah.
correct. Stick to what you know.
If you had storm water here tonight, Frankie would have said, run your downspouts onto the grass. What's that gonna do to Mr. Bruno?
He would have said that. I
Absolutely, yeah.
spoke with Frank and he did say that, but he didn't say it because that's what he wants. He's saying that because
Yeah.
that's what the
I would
EPA
still
is
think
recommending.
They would have to go on the grass to the street.
Yeah.
It won't work that way. How's that possible?
I do not want someone
That doesn't
water
make- that-
in my yard.
I understand, but that doesn't make sense,
I don't say it's
Lori.
right or wrong,
It
but
doesn't make sense.
that's
So
what
they're gonna
they're
put it on their grass, but it's still gonna run to the street.
Well, I mean, like
That
my
doesn't make sense.
downspout, like here was my
Yeah.
house, like
But-
here was my
but there's a
downspout. It
reason
went
we
out to the
eventually
yard.
tied them
It
in.
went
But
out.
if your yard, it's based on the elevation.
Yeah.
It's gonna depend on.
Yeah,
But I mean, it was still away from the houses, is what I'm saying. Like it's not
But
like
they're going some,
towards
the
eight-
next
eight
street
foot away
over
from-
backyard.
Well, this is my front yard I was talking about, but.
Yeah, but there's a house behind you.
Yeah, but if
Yeah.
your back
Bottom line
downspouts,
is-
if you just run them out to the grass, where are they going?
Bottom line is, when we do construct this ordinance, we need Guy, we need Frank.
There's no
Mostly
easy
Frank.
answers to this.
I understand, but it's still, not every aspect of our job is easy. So we still need to come up with something.
No
Because
way.
what you're gonna open up
No
is, you're gonna
way.
open up West Omar. West
Because-
Omar is gonna be a nightmare.
But again, how often is there a problem with them going in the storm sewer? That's when it's extremely bad rain.
No, they're not allowed to go into the storm sewer.
Well, mine does. I mean,
You can't,
mine goes into my downspout and goes out to the street or whatever.
to the street.
Okay.
But they're talking about, what the ordinance states right now is that they're supposed to go directly
Catch
into the
basin.
storm.
That's the way I read it.
So you're going under the ground, under the street in most instances, correct, Tim?
Tapping into the big.
And tying in,
Yeah.
right?
Go to the backside of a
A catch basin,
catch basin.
which people don't even have a catch basin in every yard. You might be going 5 yards down.
And you can't
The
do
ordinance
that
that we
because
have-
then the city's
It's-
responsible
It's
if
good.
it
It
backs
doesn't,
up.
it's bad.
Okay.
The ordinance that we have, in my opinion, is bad.
And you have probably 40 to 60% of the city that is not in compliance with it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they're not connected, they're running the lines out.
But we need to get with them, see their recommendations, change this ordinance
But
so that
what's
it
the
works.
difference? There is no difference if you run it to the street. Like he's saying, that they don't want you to do that anymore.
Correct. Like Jimmy
How
said, you're
bad-
damned if you do or you're damned if you don't.
But it's only bad when it's really bad.
On which part? Are you saying if it's
Like
ran
if-
to the street?
No, mine's tied into the street, right?
Yours goes out at your curb and dumps onto the street.
Yeah,
Okay.
so if it does that, but it's only bad for stormwater when the rain's really bad. Just imagine if people had.
Well, that's not really it. That's not true. That's not true. It's really bad for a high influx of rain at that time because they're taking on a ton of flow. However, if it ties directly into the storm sewer, any garbage, junk, debris, stuff from your gutters, it's now getting packed directly into our storm sewer. So that's their complaint.
Okay.
There's going to be a lot more clogs and a lot more problems if it's tied directly into it.
And there's language, I know Guy was looking at something from Youngstown, where it says if possible, that it has to be tied in. So because you're either gonna upset 60% of the residents or 40%, so who do you?
Because you're
that's
gonna have
a-
people, they're gonna have people have
Well, then you
water
got,
in their house.
Yes.
well, you got people
You
that, their downspouts run into their sanitary.
Yeah, there's some.
Which is why I think at this point, our law
A
director
lot
is
of
stating,
houses.
keep
Like
this
the
as
old
a
one.
civil matter.
Yep.
You could always have civil recourse. If we put something in stone, nobody's gonna be happy. Everybody, now we disconnect these and you're dumping them, everybody's gonna complain about their neighbors dumping onto their property. I think that's why John is saying, we're not here to
Which makes
run
sense.
everybody's lives. That's not what our function of government
But we already
is.
have that ordinance
And
that
I-
says that it's not maintained.
And
So
I agree.
if it's not
Mr.
maintained and we
Bruno
can
didn't
prove
know
that that
where
water's
his
not
lines
coming
were
out of that,
running.
then
That's
something
what
would be done.
you're
Right.
I agree
Line
that
into
the
the
initial one,
They
we
probably
gotta
are.
change the ordinance, in my opinion.
And if you bring that up, what's gonna happen?
He'd have to take those out of there.
What?
Mr. Bruno said he didn't know where his sewers, where his downspouts ran.
Yeah.
Do they run into a sanitary?
You wanna hear that?
We'd have to dye test it, correct?
No, you smoke test it.
Okay.
That's how you do it. Exactly. Because you remember, Tim, when we used to do that years ago, smoke
I
test it.
never was there when they did that.
Oh, I know I was
that's-
there.
I
they
have power
did it.
smoke test my house.
They
know I
dye
was
test it
there.
most of the time now to see where the water's actually going, but I don't know how you do it into the sanitary.
You drop smoke on the sanitary and it just
Glad we
comes out,
paid,
it
yeah.
comes out off the.
Well, I got 4 left.
Roofs or kind of-
Okay.
Right.
Wait,
That's how
did you
you-
get mine?
Oh, I got you too, John.
No, I'm sorry.
I expect
didn't
to
mean interrupt
win.
the meeting with it. Yeah, actually, I mean,
Yeah, we'll wait till it's over. I expect to win this, but
What is it for?
I don't know.
$1,000. Second, $1,000 first prize, $500 second prize.
I'm not donating that back.
Actually, got
so we're
3
clear.
Yeah, win 1,000, I'm keeping it.
Yeah, but listen, Lori, I'm with you, but I think a lot of this revolves around our ordinance that we need to change so that it works for everybody in the city.
Yeah.
Not so that, it makes no sense to me to have an ordinance on the books that literally 60% of the people aren't in compliance with, and the other ones couldn't be compliant if they wanted to. If you don't have a catch basin by you, how are you gonna tie into a storm sewer? So I feel like our issue as council is with the ordinance.
Right.
And that's basically what we can do to help. I mean, that's our only way of helping.
You flip that out.
No, I-
Good job tonight, though.
Thank you.
I'd like to see you come alive. All right, anybody?
So, how was I now? I don't want to shake your hand. I was waiting for this.
All right, anybody have anything else for finance and legislation? Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Meeting adjourned.